What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Average Bob, and we're in week one. It's coming up. It's here. We finally made it. Super jacked up. Can't wait for the Cowboys Sunday night at home at MetLife Stadium. I'm going to do a full breakdown on that game and my thoughts probably later this week as we approach game time. But in today's video, I want to talk about the Giants' current depth chart. This is unofficial. It's what ESPN posted, but I didn't have enough time this summer to really do as much, breakdowns of the offseason, preseason, training camp as much as I would have liked to. So with that, I'm going to have a lot more to talk about as we go through the depth chart here. Obviously, at quarterback, we got our boy Daniel Jones coming back. Really excited to see what he could do in year two of Dable and Kafka, second year at the helm. So I'm pretty excited. Danny Dimes got paid, deservedly so. Obviously, when it came down to the contract thing, it was really a no-brainer that they weren't going to pay, a long-term contract to running back at this point in time when they needed to lock up a quarterback. So Danny Dimes had a really good year last year with absolutely no weapons at all, which I thought was absolutely massive, and because he trotted out bums. So I'll touch on the wide receivers as we get there, but really excited to see what Danny Dimes could do from a passing perspective. Even though he didn't pass, too great last year, he just mitigated the turnovers, which was awesome, but he had no one to throw it to. So anyway, as a backup, we're bringing back Tyrod Taylor, who I think is, fine. He's a proven NFL caliber player and a good damn backup to have, There was years ago, right? I think when Danny Dimes went down, it was like Colt McCoy coming in or Mike Glennon, and the season was pretty much over. So, if Danny Dimes does go down at any point, I do have some faith in Tyrod Taylor to get the job done. And then in the preseason, he made the practice squad or whatever, but Tommy DeVito, he had a pretty fun preseason. I know everyone was rooting for him. And a lot of people were talking about him wanting to see him be the number 2 guy over Tyrod. It's just not really an apples to apples comparison. Tyrod really didn't play all too much, doesn't need to play, doesn't really have much to prove at this point, where the Giants did want to see what they have in Tommy DeVito while keeping QB1 and QB2 healthy. Next up is the running backs. Of course, we signed Saquon. We also have Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, and rookie Eric Gray. Saquon, obviously going to be a bell cow again. The offense is going to have to go through him, which will open up Danny Dimes on the read option and also open up guys downfield, especially, new tight end acquisition Darren Waller. So really excited to see, Saquon, hopefully, what happened last year, right? Saquon had such a good first half of the season, and then injuries started to pile up, but also tape started to pile up where teams were recognizing, the offense is going through him. They don't have really too many other weapons besides the quarterback. So how can we stop him? Team started stacking the box. There was a lot of tape. So I'm hoping the Giants could be as creative as possible. But even if, we can try and get, RB2 Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, maybe even seen some Eric Gray. I think Eric Gray is actually the 3rd running back, and Brightwell might be like a 4th and a special teamer. But I'm really hoping that we can have a little bit of a semblance of a rotation here. I think, teams that are the most successful are able to rotate some running backs, but obviously not everyone has the superstar talent like Saquon, so he has to get the ball as much as possible, right? We want Saquon to get the ball 20-ish times a game, right? And then also some catches out of the backfield. So we hope he could stay healthy as long as possible. It's a very interesting season for him. So I'm really excited to see what the running backs could do, especially outside of Saquon, where guys are going to have to step up, and there's a couple guys that do have their chance. The biggest overhaul for this team right here is the wide receiver room. I did a video at the end of last season about how disgusted I was with the current state of the wide receiver room. And we've gone and flip-flopped 100% here. So you're going to have Isaiah Hodgins back. He'll have his first full season as a Giant, as he came in kind of like off the scrap heap as he was cut by the Bills or off the Bills practice squad last year. So he had the most success with Danny Dimes. Good to bring him back, have a full offseason, full camp, and he's ready to go. So I'm actually interested to see what he could do this year. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, recently activated off the pup, starting to practice again. He came off that great game versus I believe it was the Lions, where he had about 100 yards receiving, give or take. And then, of course, in Giants fashion, he gets pushed out of bounds and tears his ACL right when we finally have a 100-yard wide receiver. So I'm glad to see he's back. I'm just going from top to bottom here, so I'll have this displayed. But Bryce Ford Wheaton on the IR tore his ACL in the preseason. He was someone that everyone really liked to kind of be a dark horse from the wide receiver options because he is raw and talented. He's really big. I didn't really like what I saw from him. There was a lot of drops in the preseason, but it's whatever. He is, he's tall, and we don't really have much height in this wide receiver core. Next up is Darius Slayton. Obviously we all know him. He's been around a while. Let's see what he could do. He early on in his career with Danny Dimes, they did have a good rapport. Kind of fell off a little bit. Injuries piled up, but Darius Slayton, he's going to have every single opportunity, and he's had it so far in his Giants career to be the guy that they want him to be. It's just a matter of can he get it done or not. Next up, which is a very exciting option, I know the Giants fans are really pumped about this, is rookie wide receiver from Tennessee, Jalen Hyatt. Really excited to have him out there in his first full season. Obviously, he looks great so far in camp. He talked about that too, like being one of the fastest wide receivers in the combine. He won the Blitnikoff in college. The guy's a proven good wide receiver, especially if you're winning that award and you're an SEC player, you're going against top tier talent week in and week out. It's awesome to see that the Giants finally have something like that. Really, I don't understand why he fell to the third round. I mean, I guess if he sucks, then we'll understand why everyone else, didn't pick him. But I think the Giants did their due diligence here. And I think I'm really excited to see Jalen Hyatt, especially in that preseason game versus the Jets when you saw him cook Sauce Gardner, who is the reigning defensive rookie of the year and obviously a great player himself. So it's not the first time he'll probably see Sauce because they play during the regular season. But again, Jalen Hyatt, the sky is the limit for this guy. I'm really excited what he could do. And finally, and it's just another great weapon in this offense in the wide receiver room that we didn't have last year. Next up is first-year Giant, Paris Campbell, came over in the free agent acquisition from the Colts. He's been around a number of years. Obviously, playing wide receiver in the Colts, kind of tough business to be in. You don't really get too many touchdowns, and they've had, a plethora of quarterbacks available. I would love to see Paris Campbell have a great year. Why not? You're going to have every opportunity. Now there's other options available. And then, of course, our boy Sterling Shepard coming back after a couple years of pretty devastating lower body injuries. I'm really excited to see him out there. Looks by all accounts of what I've seen in camp, looks really great. He's running quick, sharp turns, cuts. Looks a little bit like his old self, which is kind of crazy, and absolute hats off to him for being able to do that at his age with a torn Achilles, torn ACL. Pretty much unheard of for guys to really come back and be successful. But, he's a giant through and through. Everyone loves him. And it's kind of crazy. Young Shep is probably the oldest tenured Giant on the team. So time flies. And hopefully we can see, one last hoorah from Shepard. Because, last year, even when he was healthy, he came back and played really well, especially in that Titans game. I think he had a 60-yard touchdown reception that kind of sparked the team in the second half. Next up are the tight ends. Obviously, we got the trade for Darren Waller. By all accounts, this offseason looks absolutely amazing. I think, you guys, the biggest thing for Darren Waller is how many games can he play and can he stay healthy, right? If he could play every single game, he'll be a tremendous weapon and an asset in this offense. Danny Dimes has never had a tight end to really work with, and the Giants haven't had a good tight end in a while. So this is the most talented Giants tight end we've had, I don't know, very, very, very long time. And I think it's going to be eye-opening to see. I'm interested to see how much they'll be utilizing him in a blocking scheme, because obviously we did see our boy, second-year guy, Daniel Bellinger, bulk up a lot. And he was pretty good blocking last year. I thought he had a great rookie campaign. Obviously, he had that terrible freak injury where maybe it was the Jaguars game where someone hit him right in the face with their arm right in his and broke his orbital. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen an injury like that before where a guy broke his eye socket with a face mask on and a helmet. There's not, as you can see here, there's not much wiggle room to get your hand through to break someone's eye socket, which is crazy. But bringing in Darren Waller, I think, has made Bellinger, even though he had a great rookie campaign, up his level of play a little bit further, especially the offseason diet, workouts. And, that's what's expected of guys who didn't play at these top tier SEC programs where they get a full NFL offseason under the hood, and they're able to lift, work out in a world-class facility, have world-class nutritionist. So that's what you're seeing, and I hope leads to a great second year for Bellinger. Next up was Lawrence Cager. Pretty big dude, actually. I thought he looks like, I think he might be like 250 or 260, and he looks really, really skinny whenever you watch him play. I think he scored a touchdown in the Seahawks game last year. But yeah, interesting to see what he could do. And then Tommy Sweeney I think he had like a medical issue, so I'm not sure how much we'll see of him. But again, he'd probably be in like sort of like a fullback tight end blocking role. Up next, getting to the offensive line. My guy Andrew Thomas got super paid this offseason, deservedly so. Don't really need to talk about him too much because he's going to be a stalwart at left tackle, hopefully for the very significant future. Ben Bredesen coming in at left guard, backed up by Shane Lemieux, and Mike Davis says he's on the IR. He was terrible. I hope he was cut in the preseason. Shane Lemieux was a guy who was around forever. He was a Gettleman guy. Started that one, I think it was his rookie year, played in a lot of games, and then after that was always kind of hurt, but always like kind of in the backup mix if he was able to stay healthy. Never really has been healthy. But Bredesen, and then if we just pivot over to right guard quickly and talk about Mark Glowinski, I don't really think these guys are very strong guards, but I guess they are serviceable with what they can do. Glowinski, 31 years old, has been around for a while, so hopefully having good center and tackle play can kind of disguise that a little bit. Because I feel like last year, I don't know if you guys remember this, you would just see Saquon making like insane jump cuts, running all the way down the field, or like breaking through, and you'd see like Glowinski just turn sideways, like looking at him, not blocking a soul. So, and Feliciano was a big one of those guys as well. So, but he's gone and he's replaced by John Michael Schmitz, who has had an incredible camp, great preseason, looks like he fits in. And you know what I love about this? I mean, he is 24 years old, which is older for a rookie, but I feel like all these guys now are a little bit older. It's gone are the days of like when we drafted Eli Apple and Eric Flowers and they were like 19 or 20 years old. Now these guys, are much bigger guys. Like John Michael Smith's coming in at 24 years old, but he's pro ready from day one compared to those guys that are much younger. But it's interesting for him. I guess I could talk about this in another video, but like it's just weird like how, he's going to be 28, 29 years old and he's going to have to get his first contract. And it's like, talk about the NFL not for long, but like when you go in at 24, you're just kind of limiting the amount of potential earnings. But John Michael Schmitz, by all accounts, looks great. I'm really excited about him, see what he could do. And this is like, he just seems like the future at center, and the offensive line is finally getting back a little bit back to the glory days of like Snee, O'Hara, McKenzie, Deal, all those great guys, Seibert, and those guys that we love so much. Then next up at right tackle, we have Evan Neal. He got hurt a little bit in his rookie campaign. I think it was an MCL, and then this preseason suffered a concussion injury. So I'm hoping that can was in concussion protocol. I hope he was able to rest up a little bit, but this guy put in a ton of work. So yeah, big expectations for Neal coming in year 2 after making all those changes. The only real negative here is Matt Pert. He's been around for a while now. Really, never solidified himself as a backup tackle. So injuries are a bit of concern on the Giants offensive line because there is, we really need these guys to play because the backup guys really are insufficient to play at this level at this point in time. Up on the D, let's move over to that. Brought in the interior defensive line was Ashawn Robinson. Has had a pretty successful career so far. Pretty excited to see what he can do because he will bring that sort of run stuffing, gap stuffing ability, especially on the run, where the Giants really got gashed a lot last year in the run. And there was really no one else on that interior D line who played really well besides our guy, Sexy Dexy. Don't want to talk about him too much. Really excited. I'm glad he got paid as well. If you want to see more about how much I love Dexter Lawrence, you could go back and watch my appreciation video for him last year. And then interesting to see was the later round pick Jordan Riley out of Oregon, who has had a pretty successful camp and he looks good. So I'm interested to see like how much he'll actually get into the mix as the season progresses and there is that rotation. Obviously, Leonard Williams, been around the league a while now, and he's one of the most highest non-paid quarterbacks of all time. So good for him. Great agent. Second-year guy, our boy, Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm really excited to see what he can do as he had a great rookie campaign. I think just the one area that didn't show on the stat sheet was sacks, but I think all of us Giants fans know when we're watching the games how special and talented this guy could be. And that'll all come, right? Because we got a lot better on defense compared to what we were at last year, especially in the interior linebacker space with Bobby Okereke from the Colts. Again, another guy is similar to Paris Campbell. They were kind of on bad teams, so they didn't get much credit. Interested to see how he can lead kind of getting that captain role and being sort of the quarterback of the defense there. Micah McFadden also slotted in at right inside linebacker. I think you'll probably see a lot of Isaiah Simmons, the trade that just transpired the other week from the Cardinals, step into that linebacker role. It was just interesting on the Cardinals. Simmons never had a position, and I guess he really didn't at Clemson as well. It was kind of similar to Peppers from a couple years ago, where like they're just such freak athletes that you could kind of play them anywhere. So why I'm really excited about that trade, for one, is that a guy like Wink Martindale we saw what we did on defense last year, right? Like with a couple no-name guys that weren't that great. Wink Martindale makes everyone so much better. He creatively uses everyone to the best of their ability. So I'm really excited to see what Wink could do with a freak talent like Isaiah Simmons, who's, like I just said, freak talent, but also pissed off and is in the last year of a contract. Like he wants to get paid. And if he sucks this year and doesn't do well, like, I don't know, probably not going to have much success in the NFL for being such a high round draft pick. And then also as a backup, Cam Brown. Everyone was big on Gerard Davis. I don't even really talk about him, but he tore his ACL and like whatever. Then also edge rusher, Azeez Ojulari. You know, he was constantly hurt a lot, but if he could string together a campaign where he can play in pretty much every game, you know, the sky is the limit for him as well. As across from Kayvon, those are two hard guys to block, and you know, you're seeing like reports like, oh, you know, hot take, Azeez Ojulari could be a 10-sack guy. Well, you know what? For that hot take to transpire, he's got to play. And if he can, then the sky's the limit for him. Backup Jihad Ward, we all saw that during the preseason versus Rodgers, where he talked a ton of shit. Going to be interesting to see as the season progresses when they do play each other again at MetLife. I think it's October 29th. Up next are the secondary. Let's just touch base on Adoree Jackson, who's going to be kind of in that slot cornerback role, which opens up the rookies in the other cornerback spots. So we'll have Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins looking to be in that starting role. Also around, you got Darnay Holmes, Cordell Flott. We've seen enough of them over the years that I'm pumped to see some rookies come in, especially Trey Hawkins out of Old Dominion, who seems like he had a really good camp and preseason. So obviously, these guys are going to have a tremendous matchup in week one when you're starting, you know, against CeeDee Lamb and some other great guys. So Prescott's throwing passes compared to what you've seen, you know, in your Old Dominion career, or Deonte Banks at Maryland. Safety, Jason Pinnock slotted in to start at strong safety. Kind of stepped it up a lot last year. So hopefully full off season, kind of being like the sky's the limit for him to slot in and play this role. Dane Belton behind him. Now we got Xavier McKinney, the real X-Man that we got. Yeah, he's an Iron Man. And then at special teams, a couple of familiar faces here behind Graham Gano. Very consistent, very good. Hopefully he doesn't get concussed kicking off like what happened last year, the one game, which was pretty bizarre. Then behind him is the punter, Jamie Gillen. He's very concerning for me, even though the Giants seem to like him a lot. They brought him back and extended his contract, so we'll see what he does there. Punt returner Eric Gray, Darnay Holmes. As long as we don't have to see Adoree Jackson returning punts, because that was a big loss when he went down. Then kick returner Gary Brightwell. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the updated Giants depth chart. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Labor Day, and we'll chat later this week.